She closed the $4 million negotiation at 4:47 on a Tuesday. Calm voice, steady hands. The other side tried to walk the deal back twice, and both times she just waited them out, like waiting wasn't costing her anything at all. Nobody in that room saw her knees bouncing under the table. Nobody saw the way she learned decades ago to keep her face still no matter what her body was doing underneath it. 2 hours later, she was home. Her husband asked her one question about the dishwasher. One question. Not even a hard one. And something in her chest slammed shut so fast she didn't recognize her own voice when she answered him. Short, flat, a little cruel even, in a way that surprised her more than it surprised him. She would tell you these are two different women, the negotiator and the wife. The one who can hold a room and the one who can't hold a simple conversation about the dishwasher without flinching. They are not two women. They never were. There is one nervous system running both rooms, and today we're going to prove it, piece by piece, until you can see your own version of it clearly enough to finally do something about it. Welcome to the Regulated Life, where relational nervous system science meets real-life healing. If your body is tired of protecting you from the people you love most, you're in the right place. Your body picked its relationship pattern long before your conscious mind ever chose your partner. It's why you keep repeating the same exact emotional cycles in your romance, your friendships, and even your leadership style, even though you know better. If you don't understand what your physiology is doing behind the scenes, you will keep blaming your character, your willpower, or the people in your life for the cycles that are actually just your nervous system running an old survival script. Today, we are mapping out the relational nervous system science behind why your body reacts before you can think, and how to finally break the cycle. Let's get into it. Here's the sentence I want you to sit with for the rest of this episode. You do not have a workplace nervous system and a separate relationship nervous system. You have exactly one, and it runs the same software under pressure in every single room you walk into. That's not a metaphor, that's neuroscience. Dr. Stephen Porges, the researcher behind polyvagal theory, calls this process neuroception. It's your body's continuous below conscious awareness scan for safety or threat. Neuroception doesn't check the calendar before it runs. It doesn't know the difference between a tense negotiation and a tense conversation with the person who shares your bed. It only knows tone, pace, proximity, and pressure. Think back to our negotiator for a second. In that boardroom, her body was running what Porges calls a sympathetic state, mobilized, alert, ready to defend. That state served her. It kept the deal from collapsing. But sympathetic activation isn't free. It's borrowed energy and the body always wants it back. So she walked through her front door already in debt. And when her husband asked about the dishwasher, her nervous system didn't have the reserves left to read that question as the small, harmless thing it actually was. It read it as one more demand on a system that had nothing left to give. That's not a partner problem in that moment. That's a depleted bank account with someone's name on the withdrawal slip who didn't even know there was a balance to manage. Dr. John Cacioppo's research on loneliness and the nervous system adds another layer here. Your body doesn't just react to threat. It actively tracks how safe or unsafe your social world feels, almost like a constant background check running on every relationship you have. When that check comes back unsafe, too many times in a row, even briefly, even over something as small as a dishwasher, your body starts treating connection itself as the threat, not just that single moment. Here's what I call somatic amnesia, treating the physical alarm system as a noise instead of intelligence. You feel the chest tighten in a negotiation and you call it focus. You feel that exact same tightening across the table from your partner, your sibling, your adult kid, and you call it being difficult or tired or just not in the mood. It's not a mood. It's the same alarm going off in a different room. And you've been trained to only take it seriously when there's money attached to it. I want to be specific about something because I see this constantly with high functioning people. Professional boundaries often isn't a skill, it's hypervigilance with better branding. If you can hold a flawless poker face through a hostile negotiation, but you cannot tolerate 30 seconds of silence from someone you love, that composure was never regulation. It was sympathetic overdrive with a good costume on. Dr. James Pennebaker's research on emotion suppression backs this up directly. The energy it takes to keep a physiological response hidden doesn't disappear, it gets stored, and the body always finds somewhere to send the bill. Usually, it's the one room where you finally feel safe enough to stop performing, which means the people who get the least composed version of you are often the people you trust the most. That's a brutal irony, and it's worth sitting with for a second. The safer someone is, the more likely they are to get your dysregulated nervous system instead of your best one. So if it's one nervous system, one set of wiring, what does that actually look like in your real lived week? It looks like the Sentry Archetypes, the 6 protective patterns your nervous system defaults to when it doesn't feel safe, showing up in the exact shape, no matter what room you're standing in. The costume changes, the pattern doesn't. Let's walk through 3 of them because I want you to actually see yourself in this, not just nod along. The appeaser. At work, this looks like overcommitting to a client demand you knew was unreasonable the second they said it, and saying yes anyway, smiling the whole time while your stomach drops. At home, with a partner, a parent, a close friend, it's the exact same drop in the gut right before you say, sure, no problem, to something your whole body just voted no on. Same wiring, same surrender, different audience. The bunker. Professionally, this is the person who goes quiet in a group project, who stops responding to collaborative threads, who finds reasons to work alone because group exposure feels like risk. At home, it's hiding behind a laptop or a phone the second a family member asks for something emotionally costly. Not because the laundry is urgent, but because the screen is a door the bunker can close without anyone watching them close it. The armored. In the boardroom, this is the person who controls the agenda before anyone else can, sets the pace, doesn't let the meeting breathe because an unstructured room feels like an unsafe one. At home, same person micromanages the household routine. Bedtime, the dishwasher, how the towels get folded. Not because they're controlling by nature, but because structure is the only language your nervous system has ever trusted to outrun a threat it can't name. Our negotiator from the beginning is an armored pattern, by the way, if you hadn't already guessed. The same control that won the deal was the exact same control that made one dishwasher question feel like an ambush. She wasn't choosing to be harsh with her husband. Her nervous system was simply still running the only program it had access to in that moment. Now here's where I need you to be honest with yourself for a second. The partner fight you keep having, it is not actually a partner problem. It feels like one. It has a name attached to it. Your partner's name, maybe. But if you zoom out, that exact cycle, the same bracing, the same withdrawal, the same overcorrection, is almost certainly playing out somewhere else in your life right now. With your co-founder, with your mother, with a friend who's been too busy to talk for 3 months that have nothing to do with busy and everything to do with an old threat map. Try this with me right now while you're listening. Think of the last relationship blow-up you had. Any relationship, doesn't matter which. Got it? Now ask yourself one question. Where else in the last 30 days did you feel that exact same internal sensation? Not the same argument, the same feeling in your body. Most people can find it within 10 seconds. That's not a coincidence. That's the baseline showing itself to you. If you only treat the version of this pattern that shows up in your romantic relationship, you're mowing one seed in a field. The root system runs under every relationship you have. Your leadership, your parenting, your friendship, your closest partnership. It is one autonomic cycle wearing 5 different outfits. This is the piece traditional work often misses. You can do the communication homework, learn the scripts, say all the I feel statements correctly, and still detonate next Tuesday. Not because you didn't learn the lesson, because insight lives in your prefrontal cortex, and this pattern lives in your autonomic nervous system, a much older, much faster system that was never waiting for your permission in the first place. So if insight doesn't fix it, what does? Here's the shift. You stop trying to manage the symptom in each individual relationship and you start mapping the baseline, the one pattern running underneath every room. This is the move from defensive adaptation to what I call integrated safety. It starts with something deceptively simple, tracking your window of tolerance, the zone where you can stay present, stay regulated, stay actually yourself in real time across context, instead of only after the damage from a blow-up. Practically, that means noticing the early signal, the jaw, the breath, the shoulders, whatever your particular tell is, and asking one question before you react. Is this the room or is this the wiring? Most of the time, especially if you're a high achiever who spent years rewarded for performing calm under fire, it's the wiring. And wiring can be repatterned. It cannot be argued with. This is also where repair enters the picture. Not the apology and move on version most of us were taught, but the kind that actually lets your nervous system register that the threat has passed and the relationship is still standing. Repair isn't a sentence. It's a felt sense signal that your body has to receive, not just hear. You can say I'm sorry perfectly and your partner's nervous system will still be braced for the next hit if nothing in your body, your tone, or your pacing tells otherwise. And before you can do any of that work with precision, you need to know your starting point. Which pattern is actually running the show for you? Which sentry shows up first, fastest, under which kind of pressure? Not generally, specifically yours. That's exactly what this week's raw regulation tools are built to help you locate. And it's exactly what the free quiz maps in 5 minutes flat. Before we go, this week's raw regulation episodes are built to walk you straight through this day by day. Tuesday, we're doing the Boardroom to Bedroom Somatic Mirror Audit, a direct comparison of where your body braces at work versus at home, so you can see your own pattern in real time. Wednesday is the Autonomic Transition Protocol, the vagal decompression practice to stop your workday sympathetic drive from walking straight into your living room and detonating on people who didn't cause it. Thursday, the cranial nerve social engagement sequence, for anyone whose bunker or hollow patterns makes friendship itself feel like a risk not worth taking. And Friday, the somatic rupture and recovery matrix, built specifically for conflict with co-founders, business partners, and family leadership, so rupture becomes information instead of just damage. Next week, we're going even earlier in the sequence, into the first 3 seconds of any conflict, before your mouth even opens, where your entire reaction has already been decided by your body. If you've ever wondered why you can't think clearly the second a fight starts, that's next week. You don't want to miss it. Before you try to fix a relationship, find out what survival pattern your body is running. Take the Relational Nervous System quiz at mind-fusion.com/quiz. And if this episode helped your body exhale even 1 inch, share it with someone who is still calling their survival pattern a personality flaw. I'll see you tomorrow.